Now, we have for you our final AI in Action enterprise story, which has a rather interesting title of, Is the application of AI difficult? Think again, the rise of AI platforms. Now, to divulge more on this subject, I'm delighted to introduce to you Itamar Friedman, who is the Director of Machine Vision at Alibaba. Hello to you, welcome.
So it's a pleasure being here and having the opportunity to discuss about the topic that you just mentioned, is the application of AI difficult? I'm speaking from Tel Aviv, and I work in Alibaba Damo Academy. So I want to go straight ahead to my suggested takeaway. So is the application of AI difficult? I believe yes. And the first challenge that we can think about is that AI models introduce uncertainties. A second group of challenges that we can think of is that it requires developing AI-based features requires to bring into the table experts that are usually quite expensive. And also you need to set the right and relevant dedicated processes and infrastructure, like just mentioned by Dr. Bach, right? So my point here is that I want to say is that look around, raise your head, and check what's available today in the market. You will see emerging data and AI platform and services, and I believe they can greatly reduce a meaningful part of the burden. Okay, so let's start over. Is the application of artificial intelligence difficult? So I think a fast answer would be yes, right? That's what we're talking about. But then if I think slower, maybe I start thinking about many applications that I see around. For example, you can refer to a talk by my colleague, Dr. Hua Xiansheng, also from Damo Academy yesterday. And he showed a dozen of applications in production by his team. And maybe it depends. The question depends on what, and that's part of the things I want to explore. I probably won't give a complete answer, but let's talk about it. But let me first phrase another question. Is the application of video streaming difficult? Oh, so maybe like a fast answer is no. We're doing it right now, right? You can tell me please let me know if it works well. But then when I think about my personal experience, for example, last week talking with someone in a platform G, and it didn't work well, and we moved to a platform Z, then it did work well. So maybe it's not that obvious, and also depends. And let me phrase another question related to another field, maybe more closely related to AI. Is the application of real-time flow and processing difficult? So my first, at least for me, my fast answer would be no. Like we use it all the time. Yes, it was difficult, but a lot of companies used BI and things like that are based on that. But then when you think about it, I've talked to experts, it's quite difficult to do it, especially real time. And the question is depends on what. So I think there are many challenges that relates to real time and data flow and processing. Maybe different challenges than applying AI. But who says it's more difficult or less difficult? It's maybe a matter of taste or not. And I think that one of the great things about the market of real time, the tools that exist for real time data flow and processing that are quite mature, and there is a variety. For example, we can take a look on Kafka and Flink, which are two tools out of many, and you can have them in these two in different flavors. You can manage it by yourself on premise or so, or you can have them managed by Alibaba Cloud, just as an example. And you can find typical data flow and processing systems, such as the one that I hope you see on the screen, but there are many others. And in these systems that are becoming quite common, you can see, for example, Kafka and Flink that I mentioned, but also dozens of other tools that are quite mature. This is one possible solution system, mainly for offline processing. But then there is a lot of consolidation going on and more tools being brought up, especially by hyperclouds. For example, in Alibaba, you can see a system that enables both real-time and offline analytics, involving a solution like Max Compute and a variant of Flink. And this is being used by AliExpress in scale. So what I'm trying to say here is that one of the good things about data flow and processing, even real time, is that there are more and more tools that help us to manage with the difficulties. So I go back to our original question: is the application of artificial intelligence difficult? Well, what's the big deal? For example, on the bottom right, you can see the magical AI circle that I see in many presentations, even of myself in World Summit AI 2018. So it's just the three components, right? Like taking algorithms, running them on some scalable and reliable compute to offer them to enable them to work for our application, and then collect relevant data and use that data to improve the algorithm. So that's basically it. What's the big deal here? And maybe one of the questions is that what are our tools to do all these, and how really these are complicated and solved by different tools. So I want to look on these challenges and aspects that I just mentioned from the perspective of different stakeholders. I mean, like for let's say take an example, a team that work on an AI-based feature. Okay, they want to develop this feature, and we want to look from each one of the stakeholder in this team. I want to say that I'm going to present a specific team setup that I believe is a good representation to convey my ideas. It's not the only one, of course. So let me jump over the ML practitioner directly to the data scientist. So I believe that from the data scientist point of view, generally speaking, that person would like to get some data, crunch the data, and get insight on some problem. The problem probably given to that person, for example, from the product manager. And then the data scientist want to output a data set, a model, right, for the problem, and some report. And then we talked about the product manager. Let's look at it from the product manager point of view. The product manager point of view first probably needs to get some business value that we want to gain here. Probably that person gets it from the business owner, and then the product manager needs to define the product objective, the product key results, and perhaps the use cases that defines the problem to propagate it to, for example, the data scientist, and guide data collection, because we are talking here about AI, machine learning, etc. And then from the product manager point of view, usually, or perhaps ideally, the product manager looks on the problem from a dynamic point of view. It's not a static world, so we need to monitor the results and go back to step one. By the way, I have to admit, I'm myself a data scientist. It's easier for us to look on the world from the static point of view, but the real world is usually dynamic, and it relates to more things we're going to talk about, like mentioned by Dr. Bach, that you need to have the right infrastructure and mindset for that. So we talked about a few team members, and we talked about someone like looking at the data, cleaning it, someone training a model, and a product manager that maybe trying to help with some guidelines. Sorry, it's just a joke. Don't get product manager out there. And then we talked about the business owner that is supposed to provide the business value that we're trying to gain here for us, the developers, like the owners, or for our client. I guess that the business owner doesn't come and say we want to do AI, although it could happen. It's say like we want to develop features that have intelligence, etc. And then we want the product manager and the dev lead, the one working with the product manager, to really be the one that's saying, oh, okay, here we want to do AI. For this use case, AI makes sense, and for this case, not. Of course, we need the mindset of if we want to develop AI, we need the process and everything set in mind. But still, we don't force doing AI just for the sake of doing AI, right? So the dev lead with the product manager has a great responsibility. And let's look on the point of view of the dev lead and the challenges that the dev lead has or have. Sorry. So we want to for the dev lead, after getting the product use cases, the product problem. So that person wants to convert the product, the use cases requirements into AI-based solution. They want to lead the data collection, lead the algorithm-based feature development while meeting constraints of different kinds, lead production-grade deployment, monitoring, maintenance, and more, verifying compliance, legal, privacy. And I try to mark in red some of the challenges like of many that are related, that might be generic, but also might be specific for AI or the specific use case of AI. And for that, probably we will need tools. So there are many more stakeholders here, or perhaps not many, but there could be more. For example, data is oil, right? So you need data collection, cleaning, visualization, versioning, pre-processing, different pipelines, annotation. For all of that, we probably need tools. And then there is the MLOps, a very important aspect in order to build AI-based features. And I wanted to depict it in a different way. In my working environment, in my open space, I sit near the MLOps team, and when an MLOps team member enters the room, immediately he or she gets hey, can you help me with that? Can you do that? And most of these, I find them, I can maybe cluster them into dealing with model serving complexity, with, for example, optimization of different kind, production complexity that related to ML, and this is the serious demands and requests and complexity that needs to be handled that could be on top of DevOps. It's something in addition related to applying machine learning. But it's not. There are more security, legal, compliance, privacy. Even the application developer is related. I won't get to that. The designer that needs to think of developing products that are based on statistical tools and predictions. The marketing that needs to create trust, maybe track them, messaging, etc. So it's there are challenges. Like now we saw them from the perspective of different stakeholder, and perhaps putting them in kind of a mind map. I would like to suggest that to put in the center the AI-based feature continuous development and put a lot of the challenges related to around. Now, I heard other approaches for this mind map for the challenges, etc. For example, I heard a model-centric one. Maybe this is a very common or was common. And lately, I hear a positive buzz from Silicon Valley about data-centric, which is awesome. But I think that the best way, like I believe, is aligned. For example, what I heard today is in this conference, great conference, is putting in the center your need and your challenge to do AI-based feature in continuous development and providing value in continuous way. And then the model is related, model training related to that, and the data annotation collection related to that, etc. So for all of these are our challenges, and we need tools. So I kind of summarize with a recap. We said that probably AI is difficult. First challenge related to model uncertainties. The second group of challenges maybe relate to that we need the experts and we need proper dedicated processes and infrastructure. All of that, these challenges are not easy to handle, but it's also not easy to do real time and data flow processing. I'm not saying that the similar problems, but who said it's less challenging? And I think that one of the great things here about, for example, real-time data flow and processing, that are great tools. So I think the question so far is, are there sufficient tools to support the application of AI? And now I didn't mention here in this recap that there's also the business value and how you connect it to AI. I will relate to that a bit later towards the end. So I want to go to the second part of the topic, the rise of AI tools, platforms, and services. So this is the MAD landscape by Matt Turk. Thank you very much. Machine learning, artificial intelligence, and data landscape. And I want to try to have two observations. One is that in 2021 and 2020, 2021, we saw a great trend of a lot of vertical and horizontal tools being built. Well, it didn't start then, but I think it's getting more, notice that there is a huge growth in both vertical and horizontal tools. What do I mean by that? That horizontal, perhaps we're saying about tools that can serve any market or any need or common needs. Okay, it's a bit too generic to say, but also there is the rise of vertical solution. That is that maybe you will find a tool, a service, a company that giving services or tools, etc., specifically for your vertical, for your use case. And that's something great. Maybe it could help to reduce the uncertainty, reduce the barriers that are very special for you, okay, for your development. So I wanted to give an example, a specific product, Cloud Drive app. And I want to give it as an example of an application that can be built on top of a designated AI PaaS, platform as a service. So first, what is a Cloud Drive app and what could be some AI needs or requirements? So let's talk on one embodiment, possible embodiment of a Cloud Drive app. For example, an app that enables users to store, synchronize, stream, and share files, and also maybe enable intelligently to organize, search, and edit and recreate content. And for example, it happened to be that Alibaba developed such app, and also my team is responsible. And on the bottom right, you can see lovely stickers automatically generated for me, for my daughter. And one of the most prominent feature that you may find in the app is free text, like any text, you can enter any text, visual search. For example, for your personal data, personal photo and videos, you can try to search for cat sleeping or photo in water or for example, good breakfast. Now, I don't want to get into too much details, but I can tell you that it's different technology and task than doing visual search on search engines because it's personal information, etc. And I don't want to dive into technology. I can tell you it involves NLP and computer vision, actually multimodality of the both. What I do want to tell you, it actually Alibaba Cloud built a platform called IMN that actually provides you APIs and interfaces to do that without you needing to develop it. Now, if you try to use it to develop your Cloud Drive app, you will find that there's more needed, like with all the things that we mentioned, there's more challenges. And even, for example, related to storage, more services, etc. And the thing that even for that, Alibaba have developed a platform that enables you to do that, okay, called PDS. So what I'm trying to say is that as an example for Cloud Drive app, there is a designated AI platform for like called PDS and IMM that enables you to more easily and take the heavy, more easily develop AI-based feature and do the heavy lifting for you. And now I claim that for many verticals, there are emerging and maturing solutions that can help you specifically for your need. Now, PDS and IMM are solutions strongly related to storage and AI. And just in Alibaba, there are more solutions like Open Vision with hundreds of methods and Intelligent Industrial Solution. Both of them you can learn about from listening to Dr. Hua Shensheng talk from yesterday. And there's also more platform like Platform for AI. Like Platform for AI in Alibaba brings a lot of layers that enables you different kind of needs and solution. And on top of that, you can build neat and great applications. For example, this is one application built on top of Pi where you see a digital twin for an airport. And here is another application, which is more like a service, like almost business as a service or SaaS for democratizing recommendation engines. You can go to Pi and use a console and a studio to use your data to experiment different models for recommendation engines and deploy it and do A/B testing, etc. and continuous the magical AI. So what I'm trying to say here is that in Pi, there are different layers to enable you different type of solution, vertical and horizontal, to develop your to fit your need. But there's many more. So let's go to the final words. What I try to say is that there are the challenge of, for example, in AI, for applying AI, of uncertainty. And there is the challenge of bringing the right experts and processes, etc. My suggestion is first focus on business value. Focus your effort on analyzing user needs. Focus on coming up with fitting intelligent product concept in UX UI. Focus on designing feedback loops, on storing valuable data, on working on the culture within your company to accept these. And then once you have these, don't try to build everything by yourself. Look around, raise your head. There are services that are emerging and maturing, even vertical solution that might fit your exact needs. You can consult with your team, ask them to check around, consult with an expert, then exploit these tools to do the heavy lifting of engineering, like MLOps or even data science. To finish, I want to say that I presented these ideas to experts around the industry, and some of them told me that, listen, Itamar, maybe some of the things that you're saying is a bit near futuristic, but hey, I'm here to talk about the next year or two or three and not on the past, not on yesterday. So that's it. Thanks a lot.
Itamar, thank you so much. Sadly, we've run out of time for questions, but I know that you are around. Can I see him back up, please? I think you are around. Perhaps if people want to connect with you directly, it would be wonderful maybe if they can get in touch via the app as well. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Great to see you. Thank you so much. Itamar, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.